Morning, lads. How are you?
Yeah, we're good, thank you. Cheers for calling. What do you want to say?
No. Yeah, I'd like to take issue with the fella that said Harry's a coward for not putting it out there that he wants to leave. The one thing Harry Kane is an ultimate professional. He's a model professional, okay? He's got 1 year left on his contract. Now, he'll either stay the rest of this season and leave on a free. And if that happens, then it happens. Hopefully, he stays and extends his contract. But to me, it's not the be-all and end-all. What we need to do is have a bit of patience with Ange. Levy needs to back him, but our recruitment needs to be better. We've wasted so much money. And when we spend big, we normally nouse it up. Look at Sanchez, look at Lo Celso, look at Ndombele. It's all money wasted. Now, that's down on Levy and our recruitment. That's got to stop. We've got to spend our money more wisely. Looks like we are doing that now. And I hope that they give him the time and back Ange.
When you were listening to Harry Kane last year, Mick, and he was doing these interviews with Gary Neville and all that sort of rounds, but would never actually come out and say he wanted to leave Tottenham Hotspur. Do you not think there was an element of a lack of substance there? If you want to leave, which you clearly did last year, why wouldn't you just come out and say it and say, look, I want to leave. There was a time back in the days where people put in transfer requests. They don't do it so much now because they don't want to lose their loyalty bonuses and stuff like that. But did you not think, if you want to leave, Harry, just come out and say it?
Yeah, to me, if that's what he wants, he should say it. But as you say, it's all about PR now. It's all about money. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose that. If he goes at the end of the season, I hope he goes abroad, right? I hope he goes abroad. But if he comes back, I'd rather him come back with Man United than if he went to Chelsea.
Are you worried about that house he's built in Wentworth?
Oh, yeah, I'm really worried about it. Poor man. He'll be fine. Don't worry about that no matter where he goes.
No, just because its proximity to the Chelsea training ground was my reference point.
Well, I think he's probably bought it because he's a bit of a golf fan, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Well, Wentworth's in Berkshire and Cobham's in Surrey. What's that got to do with the price of cheese?
Well, it's an easy route into Cobham, isn't it, from there?
Really? Not that easy.
Mate, you could have an helicopter.
You can have helicopter, that's right, Mick.
Too right. Especially if you're getting 400 grand a week. That is for sure. What's your take on Daniel Levy now and the ownership? Because I was hearing rumours yesterday that might well change at some point in the not too distant future.
Look, you've got to look at it sensibly, haven't you? There's people there that are blaming everything on Levy, okay? Now, what I mentioned with the players that we've wasted money on, he has put that money up. Now, let's have it right. Potts was the one that bought them players, yeah? And they never worked out. So, but Levy needs to get... I'm so pleased because I heard that Ange was going to come on a 2-year contract. To me, that's rubbish. I'm so glad he's given him 4 years, but he's got to get this right. Therefore, he's got to hold his nerve, but he's got to back Ange. He's the bloke that he's put in charge, yeah?
Let's see how it
Simon
goes.
gets things right about how much money's being spent and how big we are compared to other clubs. Yeah, you're up against state-run clubs.
But, I mean, Joe Lewis has got a fair few bob, but I was just saying, I heard this yesterday, that there may well be a change of ownership, or not ownership, but controlling interest in that club in the not too distant future.
Maybe. I mean, Joe, from what I can, has no appetite to put any more money in Tottenham Hotspur. And so Tottenham Hotspur is being run on the basis of what it can generate itself, which is where Daniel comes into his own because he generates revenue. And I know the ridicule that comes with it, with concerts and F1 deals with go-karting and so on and so forth. But if all that money is being redeployed back into the football club, then people should kind of wind it in a little bit. If someone's going to be taking significant chunks of Tottenham Hotspur, someone is going to be writing, I promise you, significant checks. Because when I spoke to someone, when I spoke to Daniel about £3.5 billion, he said they won't get them in the side door. So have a think about that when you're thinking about the metrics of someone buying into Tottenham.
Offer him 500 grand a week and he might stay. Try and lowball him and he'll leave. At this moment, he's putting it out there to see what other clubs would potentially offer to him and give him an idea of what Spurs should be offering him. 4-year deal, 500 grand a week. That's Hugh in Epsom. Sam and Simon on Kane. Remember, it's a team game, not one player. Sell him and he's gone on and build a new team. Get someone in now. Gary from Pontyland. Tottenham fan Lewis is in Australia. Hello.
Hello, boys. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Cheers for joining us. What time is it where you are?
It is about 5 o'clock.
All right. Okay. This is great. This is a drive time show for you. What do you want to say?
Yeah. I just want to say, going back to the point of how you would try and convince Harry Kane of the direction of the club. Ange is known for playing very attacking football, a 4-3-3 formation, which I believe complements the Spurs side in terms of the players. We just signed Maddison, which is a creative player, which takes the pressure off Harry. It should be allow him to bang some more goals in and push the team forward.
Do you think he suits the way that Ange will want to play?
I think he can if he doesn't drop too deep. I know Harry Kane loves to drop deep and get involved in the play. But if he can play a proper striker's role, then yes, I do believe he can play the Ange way. Okay,
let's see what happens. Cheers for your call. Appreciate that. That's Lewis, who's a Tottenham fan in Australia. 03717223334 if you've got anything more to say on this. Hugo Lloris still expected to leave the club. Understood to have had a couple of offers over the course of the last month or so. I think it was pretty much widely accepted that he was going to move on. They've got a new goalkeeper in Vicario. Anyway, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg might be another one who gets out the door. They are reshaping the squad, you get the feeling, Tottenham, and they do need a little bit more.
Well, you know, if we were listening to the observations of Conte and Mourinho, there is some element of change that's needed. The fact they didn't do bugger all themselves to change it is one thing, but the fact that those players needed their attitude change in the first place is another. So I think, yeah, absolutely. I would have thought that Højbjerg was not in that camp of an attitude adjustment requires. But I do think the new manager coming in and starting to change what he thinks the squad should look like is absolutely what should be going on.
Yeah, Tottenham also confident of getting hold of Wolfsburg's Dutch defender Mickey van der Veen, around about £25 million, is 22 years of age. He might be one of the first through the door this summer in terms of outfield players. Harry Kane goes back to training, pre-season training on Wednesday. How important is that first initial conversation going to be for Ange Postecoglou? Because he's very engaging when he's sitting in front of the media. Yeah. How important is his chat going to be, that first initial discussion with Kane, do you think?
Because, of course, they wouldn't have spoken on the phone between now and when...
Well, sometimes that doesn't happen,
rubbish.
Does it? No, but sometimes it doesn't happen.
Your biggest player... And you're not going to pick
up... I'm going
to wait. I've been given a job 2 months ago, and I'm not going to speak to him. Rubbish. He's already spoken to him. But as far as the media charade goes, it's going to be very, very important.
Do you think he's rung every single player in the squad then?
I would have thought he would have spoken to the bulk of them, yeah. And certainly he's going to speak to the big hitters, isn't he, for God's sakes? He's going to speak to the people that he would perceive to be A, valuable and B, influential, and C, probably most of them, because what will happen is if he doesn't speak to some players and speaks to others, it'll go around like wildfire that he didn't bother to speak to all of them. He will have made contact with the Harry Kanes of the world.
Okay. Spurs fan Stuart is on the line. Hello.
Hello, mate.
Yeah, you all right? What do you want to say?
I think that the issue of Spurs has always been about lack of communication. I think if Spurs came out and said, look, we love Harry Kane, but we're moving into a post-Kane era and we're going to do so now. This is an era, a season of transition. We should sell Kane, raise the money, wish him well, and start rebuilding the side this season. This is a rebuild season. Because Kane won't be there a season from now, so let's start with that post-Kane era straight away.
But if that's not the belief system of those that make the decisions in the club, then that becomes a redundant conversation. With Daniel, you have this mantra, which I don't agree with, quite frankly, which is never complain, never explain. He's almost a member of the royal family with that basis, because I think he should lead a little bit more from the front rather than write these sort of vacuous statements at the end of the year telling people what the viewpoint of Tottenham Hotspur's brand of football is going to be and then employ Nuno Espirito Santo to deliver it. But I don't think the feeling is, Stuart, that Kane isn't going to stay. And I think they feel that there's a distinct possibility he'll sign a new contract. That's their objective. Now, if that has to change and Harry Kane does what other people say he won't do, which is say to the chairman, I absolutely want to go, I'm absolutely insisting that I go, then a different conversation ensues, doesn't it?
Is it? I wonder whether or not it is about ego. And Joe's texted us and said this. He said, I've been saying this for years now. Levy needs to swallow his ego and sell Harry Kane to fund a rebuild that Tottenham desperately need. Is there some merit in what Joe's saying there?
Can I come back on what Simon, the first part? What Simon said? Yeah. Because I really believe that the fundamental issue, the discontent at Spurs, is lack of communication. I know it's not a new thought, but the Harry Kane situation for me completely manifests it. Because if fans felt that they had a strong sense of what Spurs were about, their thinking, their philosophy. And there was some kind of dialogue, which actually Ange Postecoglou, to be fair, has begun to do, then I think people say, OK, we're going to trust that they're doing the right things behind the scenes. it's lack of trust that's at the centre of it. And the lack of trust comes from, as you say, the only communication being these very terribly, terribly badly stage-managed communication.
But Stuart, sometimes actions speak louder than words. And if you talk about what the club is about and what the traditions of this football club have always been, is to dare is to do, this wonderful football, this idea of enjoyment that goes along with Tottenham Hotspur. Well, if you hire Jose Mourinho and Nuno Espirito Santo, then you clearly don't understand what the club is all about anyway, surely.
Well, I think there's no question that what Spurs have done in the past few years has been making it up as they go along. Whatever the big statements about the DNA, to dare is to do, and so on, actually, it's just been flying by the seat of their pants. What is the great big idea?
But what is the great big idea that you hear then from everybody else? I don't hear a great big idea from John Henry. I don't hear a great big idea from Sheikh Mansour. I don't hear a great big idea from the Cronkies. I hear an outlook that manifests itself on the pitch, and then we hear it from the manager. So
I don't agree. I don't agree with that. That's not true. You look at Man City. Man City clearly had a plan.
To buy the best players and spend the most money.
No. I think that's too simplistic. They brought in the guy from Barcelona in order to get Pep Guardiola. There was some long-term thinking. Whether they succeeded on, they may not have got him, but there was a plan and it worked.
But that wasn't communicating with you guys. That was internal mechanisms that were laying down the foundations for best in class.
Their actions actually speak louder than their words.
So what we're suggesting is that if Daniel Levy gets the best in class. Now, I think what Daniel did, I think the Nuno Espirito Santos appointment was inexplicable. But I think the Mourinho and Conte appointments were based upon the pressure that the fans put on him to deliver something that looks vaguely like winning. And I think he went down the route of getting proven winners at the wrong time in their career to satisfy the demands and the expectations of the fans, which in part, of course, is his job anyway. But got the wrong people at the wrong time.
Got to leave it there, Stuart. Thank you very much. Appreciate you getting in touch with us, though. And thank you very much for everybody else who's got in touch as well. Of course, Jose Mourinho, a winner after he left Spurs with Roma, and he did get them to a cup final. He was just sacked 5 days before they were about to play it.
And if you follow that logic and you've got a group of players rocking up to people's offices saying they refuse to pay for his manager after this cup final, you might understand why he was booted out the door.
I think we should get Harry's son a 5-year contract and loan him to BeIN for 2 years so he can win some trophies, then come back and get the Premier League goals record from Mark in Greenwich. Thank you very much for getting in touch.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.